Sure, it might be a pain to get up at the crack of dawn for football practice, but can you beat the weather? Under 70 degrees. When people think of suburban communities like Hoover, struggle isn't necessarily the first word that comes to mind. What a win for Mortimer Jordan. We were at Centerpoint's practice earlier this week, and a player said on camera that he didn't think the game would be close. And the MVP award goes to the entire Auburn defense. Even Gus Malzahn said his offense got off to a slow start, but his defense stepped up their game. The people of Leeds have had to deal with all this extra stuff since construction began, but just moments ago the railroad company came to smooth things over. We arrived around 9 this morning, and although a little cloudy, the weather seemed to be holding up until after stage 1, the rain began. Coach, you had a victory at your first home game, and you're just coming off a major victory on the road. How are you feeling about the season? Coach, what a phenomenal game with a finish of 58-14. What about your team has impressed you today?
Now, the ABC 3340 Sports Desk.
Safe to say Bo Nix likes being on the Plains. Statistically, he plays better in Jordan-Hare Stadium than anywhere else.
Obviously, the facts are
in his past 2 games at home, Nix completed 65% of his throws with 4 touchdowns and no picks. But we'll see how he deals with the pressure of Georgia's defense in Auburn this Saturday. Alabama football practice is closed today, so we aren't sure what Tua Tagovailoa might be working on. He wasn't there on Monday, dressed out and watched on Tuesday, and threw a little on Wednesday. Sounds like this could be Mac Jones' game at Mississippi State. And we look at the Bulldogs for Samford. They are struggling too. They're headed to Western Carolina with a 4-6 record. It's been a bit of a weird season with 4 of the Dogs' games pushed to overtime. They've played a total of 10 overtime periods, and they've lost 3 out of those 4 games.
Ball bounces this way.
Bama's newest head basketball coach, Nate Oates, takes the Tide to their first road game of the season tomorrow night at Rhode Island. Freshman Jaden Shackelford is off to a solid start. Right now he's averaging about 16.5 points per game, but back in California during high school, he averaged 34. But today he is cool with not being the star.
Now I got 4 other guys that can score the ball, that can stop, that can dribble.
That's all for sports. Thanks for watching. I'm Noel Espinal. There's usually a divide between music and sports, but for Camille Caldwell, it's a little different. She sees herself as an athlete and an artist.
I've been doing track since I was 5, so this will be my 16th year. I started with a coach named Coach Smith. He passed away 2 years ago, and so since then I've really been inspired to do this for him because he's the one that got me into throwing, and he pushed me and inspired me to just do the best that I ever can.
Most people on campus might know her as the 2-time SoCon champ, but Camille has a few other accomplishments under her belt as well.
Yeah, I'm also a singer, which keeps me busy as well.
Some people want diamond rings, some just want everything.
She doesn't just show off her talents by singing Alicia Keys. With the help of her producer father, Camille composed a few songs of her own.
I ended up putting out an album while I was in school in 2017. Something that I thought was impossible became a reality. And so, that kept me busy with track.
Despite the busyness of her life, family and close friends provide tremendous support for Camille in all aspects.
Anything's possible if you put your mind to it.
With Christmas around the corner, most kids are thinking about Santa Claus, snow days, and everything on their Christmas list. But it may surprise you to hear that there are some kids not just asking for toys this season.
Sometimes it's the people that you would suspect the least that need the most amount of help.
Alice Turney is the principal at River Chase Elementary School. She explains all the different opportunities people have to give back to their communities.
We have canned food drives, we have toy drives and things like that, so that they see that the world is bigger than themselves and that there is something they can do to make it a better place for another person.
When people think of suburban communities like Hoover, struggle isn't necessarily the first word that comes to mind. But in reality, there are still kids that need help.
There's hunger and children that are food insecure in every community. And it really doesn't take a lot of detective work to find that out.
Greg Bishop is the executive director of Hoover Helps, an organization created to help the hungry right here in Hoover. 419 kids are now supported because of Hoover Helps in partnership with faith-based groups.
We're really lucky in Hoover that we have such a community feel. People in Hoover are very generous and are eager to help. They just need to know and be given instructions on where to direct that goodwill.
Here's how you can give your goodwill. Donate to local organizations and faith-based groups who help fill backpacks and local food banks. Food is on the Christmas list of some students, but it doesn't have to be. Reporting in Hoover, I'm Noel Espinal.
My 5th grade teacher does all these little adventure trips, and he took me and a couple of friends up to North Carolina for a week, and we just started riding there 10 miles a day and just kind of got me hooked on it.
You don't have to be a Samford student to enjoy the beauty on campus. High school freshman Jackson Ogletree has made Samford into his own playground, using the hilly landscape for a slightly different purpose.
It's got the distance, like cross country, but then the jumps and the technical part of a motocross race.
Mountain biking, the sport that Jackson's describing, is something that might not be as simple as he makes it seem. In this racing sport, the rider performs tricks and flips while biking on an off-road trail. There's not a specific practice course, which is why the Mountain Brook native has been all over the state to train. But today, close to home seemed like the best fit.
Well, Samford just has a lot of cool things that you can't just find along the streets, all the big stair sets and stuff.
Fear doesn't stop the 15-year-old. Mountain biking can be unpredictable, but every time he gets ready to ride, Jackson tells himself to just go for it.
It was worth it in the long run because it'd just be a big hill and then a fun downhill at the end. I love it because it's just something nobody really does.